Hello and welcome everybody to another Shyaren video. Let's open up our fan, spill the beans, and let us get started. Quick little disclaimer, those are my personal early signs of being trans. Disclaimer number 2, some of those things are very stereotypical, although they do not have to be, they can be for everybody. And disclaimer number 3, just because any of the things on the list is the same for you does not necessarily mean one thing or another. Those are just my experiences. Okay, let's go. Yeah, fan time. It's very hot right now. I need my fan, okay? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's nice. Oh, give me that cold air, yeah. I actually had to make like a little list, a notepad on my PC, because those are things that I have only realized after having my egg cracked and after coming out for myself and then thinking about it for like weeks and weeks and weeks. Like my egg crack was in February, right? And then slowly but surely you realize that many things back in your old life, maybe even when you were a child, happened, okay? So I started writing them down and then thinking back of them. So let's start. The first thing, I've mentioned it in many videos already, it's the haircuts, okay? It's the haircuts, not wanting them and wanting to have long hair, but being forced to have like short hair, right? We don't like that, okay? I did not like that. Lots of role play, both in person, right? I like to role play like with friends, like all kinds of different things, mostly like anime related because I'm a giant nerd, but also like playing with figurines. I had like so many like figurines and McDonald's toys when I was a kid, and like Lego figurines, and like I didn't really have Playmobil like a lot, but I did have a lot of Playmobil figures. I don't know from where, honestly, since I didn't have any Playmobil sets. But I played with that, okay? Then magical girl anime or transformation anime or quote-unquote girly anime, okay? I really like girly anime. I liked Sailor Moon. I liked Pretty Cure. I liked Wedding Peach. I liked Jen, the thief girl. I don't know what the English title is. I'm so sorry. Then, did I mention Doremi? There are so many of them that I absolutely freaking loved, okay? Disliked being served. So for me, even after becoming an adult, I never really liked that, and I wasn't really sure why until like recently, like in my brain, when somebody spoke to me and used my last name and sir in front of it, right? That was always my father. That was not me, and I freaking disliked it. And then after starting like a job where the superior only calls you by the last name, I freaking hate it every single time I'm getting called that, okay? I don't like it. Disliking being called a man, like being called a man or a boy. I was always like kind of uncomfortable when people called me that. Listen, at this point you might already be wondering, how the fuck did this biatch not figure it out sooner, okay? People and our brains are so oblivious, okay? They try to protect us from the truth, okay? I did not realize, okay, even with all these things, and there are many more coming, okay? Then playing games as a female character. I think a lot of people have that, and I think a lot of cisgendered males, some of them, probably more than would say openly so, play as female characters because, and then as an excuse they use, yeah, they look better. If I look at them as, it might as well be in female as. No, for me it was relatability, right? So I always wanted to play female characters. Next point, very close to that, relating to female characters, not necessarily playing at them in like TV shows, books, or just like in real life, relating more to the female people around me than the male people. Then choice of professions. So I always wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. And I did do the schooling to become a kindergarten teacher. And oh my god, let me tell you, in that class there was like 28 girls and like 3 boys. So yeah, I did that. And with that comes like basically all my life I have been around women as well, right? My father moved out very early. Then I lived with my mother. I have 2 sisters. And then I did like professions where a lot of female people were around me as well, a lot of women. Yeah, and then later I obviously became a librarian, and that's primarily a female occupation here as well. This one is one that might be too much personal information for you, but peeing while sitting. I I don't know when it started, right? It must have been like maybe 10, 11, 12. But ever since that, I've only sat down to do it, okay? The only times I would do it like standing was when I absolutely like had to, if there was like no stalls open, and even that was highly uncomfortable, or when you were like outside somewhere in nature, and there was basically no real other way, okay? So I know many people say like it gives them euphoria when they do it. It started like after the transition, or when they started the transition, when they came out. I have been doing that for like 20 years, okay? So maybe that was an early sign. Uncomfortability around men. I never really liked to be around a lot of men, okay? It doesn't matter if they're like younger than me and like boys, teenagers. Doesn't matter if they're like older. Doesn't matter if they're like grandpas. It doesn't matter, right? I was always like kind of uncomfortable around them, and I'm still kind of am. So I don't know in like real life. Like when I know a person, obviously I had friends. Okay, I had male friends. Once I know a person, it's fine. But like the general like populace of like male people, no, maybe not. And I never really did any male activities either, right? I wasn't that interested in sports. The only sport I was somewhat interested was like basketball. Then I never really liked, if it sounds stupid, right? But like, okay, a lot of the kids in like my school were like fighting each other, like hitting, like being mean to each other. That was stupid. I was never like taking part in that, like, And then like also many of like the male activities, like I said, sports, playing football outside and all of that. I didn't like it. I wanted to be by myself, reading like a book, writing something, playing games or whatever, right? Then gender banned anime and stories. I absolutely love gender banned stories and anime. It's the absolute freaking best, and we need more of them. Interest in LGBTQ plus topics and people. That started like probably like 8 or 9 years ago, right? Where I would really like yaoi and yuri stories, and not necessarily like in a sexual way, but like the romantic stories and the romantic like anime where there are same-sex couples, same gender couples, and like all in all, I was like reading up on all kinds of like LGBTQ plus topics and stuff like that, and was always very supportive of it, right? And it never occurred to me why that might be. I was just a good ally, okay? Then I always hated my first name. Not gonna reveal it here. Maybe at some point in the future I will. But I always hated my first name. I always wanted a name that started with an S, which is why we have Shyaren now, okay? I was so jealous of my sisters and my best friend because all three of them had names that started with an S, and I wanted to have a name that started with an S, and I didn't like mine. No. This is a big one for me, and I only realized that pretty recently, like this year, that when I was a kid, I wanted to have kids, right? Because I became an uncle very early on, I guess an aunt now, when I was like 6. Because my sisters are way older than me. And ever since then, I wanted to have like my own kids, but not in the way like a father. No, I wanted to be a mother. I wanted to be a mother, have kids as a mother. You know, can you relate? You know. Next one, big, and I mean big emo face. I don't know when it was. Probably when I was like 13, 14 at the most. I had a big emo face. I was actually dyeing my hair black. I was only wearing black clothing. And I'm not proud of that, but it got so hard into it that at some point I was cutting myself with like a razor blade from a pencil sharpener. Like only once. I was stupid and I did it only once. And I still have like a faint scar on my like upper arm from that. Okay, I was so terrified. I did it at like school. I don't know why. I don't know why I was thinking, and I was like terrified all the way to home. I don't think anybody at home from my family still knows, but on the way home, it was bleeding like shit. It was bleeding so much, you won't even believe it. And Dad like taught me a lesson, like never do that shit ever again. That's so stupid, okay? Then, and this one might be like, oh my God, at like this point, girl, how did you not figure it out? Pretending to be a girl online, okay? So for all the Germans out there, do you remember the chatting platform Knuddels? On Knuddels, I had like a thing where I was pretending to be a girl online and was getting some like messages and roses. That's like a currency you could give someone there. From like probably some old dudes, I don't know. It was weird. And then also in various online games, because I would always play female characters, I would also pretend to be female. And I know at some point, I don't know what game it was for, I don't know when it was, but I joined someone in TeamSpeak with a voice changer and did that for like months and months and months and months. And if you hear my voice now, you might be like, why did you even use a voice changer? You did not need that. But I was like convinced. You know? It's like weird. At that point, I didn't really record my voice and listen to it. Okay, I didn't have other people tell me what my voice sounded like. Okay. Then, but we go a few years later now, getting asked many, many times if I was a girl because of the way I typed. I always like to type like very flowery, I guess, with a lot of emojis. So many times people ask me if I was a girl by the way I typed on like MMOs and World of Warcraft. It's like, what? And then whenever I would join like TeamSpeak or later Discord, I would get either confused with like a 12-year-old child or with a woman, okay? And nowadays, obviously, I'm very thankful for my voice, but that happened so many times. No real interest in relationships as the quote-unquote man in the relationship. I did not have any romantic relationships in my entire life. I'm not gonna pretend, okay? And that is mostly because I'm unhappy. I was unhappy with who I was, with my body, whatever, right? There was no way I was gonna be in a relationship like that, okay? But it's all gonna change now with the power of girl drugs, yeah. Becoming a VTuber with a female model. Guess what? I actually decided to become a VTuber with a female avatar. This one you see right now before my egg actually cracked. It took me like 6 to 7 months streaming with this model until I realized, wait a moment, it's just me. And then, of course, the very typical thought of wanting to be reborn as a different gender, getting isekai or whatever. And last but not least, I leave you with one of the things that has me kept up at nights. The desire to...